ready for today's?
Yes.
Okay, it comes from Frank. Frank, thank you very much. Simon and the assembled merciful and wise ones. Let me whisk you back, if I may, to the scorching summer of 1976, when I was employed as a clerk at a branch of a high street bank in Chipping, Sodbury. On the day in question, all was peaceful. Frank gets a little carried away at this point. A gentle summer's breeze had passed. The occasional customer...
Wow.
Occasional customer had popped in to cash a cheque or a traveller's cheque. Currency, total amount, 50 quid per customer. That's all you're allowed. Flies were buzzing lazily on the windows. OK, skip a bit, Frank. You get the picture. It's 11:30, and my lunch hour, for younger listeners, this was an hour off at lunch, was approaching. Not that 20 minutes with a sandwich. As an aside, some of the clerks had taken to spending their lunch hours sunbathing on the flat roof, and I wanted to join them to eat my sandwiches there. Very nice. Anyhow, as I pondered on the hour to come, my reverie was disturbed by Les, the administration manager, summoning me to his desk. This usually meant trouble, and today was no exception. Now then, young Frank, said Les, you know Mrs. Tavistock has died. Mrs. Tavistock was the matriarch of one of the branch's important business customers. I assured him that I did know, and that, of course, I was very sorry to hear this news. Right, said Les. It's, which is almost the name of a band, but not quite. Yeah. It's her funeral at midday. You're going to represent the bank. Banks did this kind of thing in those days. Oh, Les, I said, dreams of a pleasant hour on the roof fading fast. Why me? And anyway, I can't go because, look, my psychedelic floral tie is entirely inappropriate. These were the 70s, and everyone wore psychedelic ties back then. Don't think they did, actually. But you're going, said Les, because the manager has an important appointment in the lounge bar of the Squire, and I have an important appointment in the saloon bar of the Oak. And all you want to do is to sit on the roof and ogle the girl's legs. This was indeed true, so I was busted. And so it was that with a heavy heart and wearing the branch's black tie different times, I trudged up to the local Church of England establishment, or church as I think it's known, for the funeral. Yeah. With Les's instructions ringing in my ears that I should make sure the reporter on the door got my name and knew that I was representing the bank. And this is where it all started to go wrong, because I lurked around the outside of this Church of England church until 12:15 without any trace of a funeral hoving into view. By 12:30, I was sweating like a pig and decided to give up. So I thought I'd best seek out good old Les and admit defeat. It was pleasantly cool in the bar of the Oak and redolent with that smell of beer and tobacco that can never be replaced. Different times again. I found Les and explained that despite my best efforts, there had been no funeral. Bother or something similar, said Les. The boss won't be happy with you at all. I was about to protest at the injustice of all of this when a fellow bar proper-upperer asked what the problem was. Les explained. Don't worry, says this guy. The funeral was actually at the Congregational Church, but as it happens, I was the reporter on the door. So, I will just put you down as being there, and all we need to do is to keep you in the pub for a couple of hours, then smuggle you out of the back of the pub so that you can approach the bank from the right direction. Well, this seemed like a very, very good solution as far as I was concerned. And so that is precisely what happened. I spent an excellent couple of hours in the Oak and then tottered back to the bank. And then the manager, Mr. Campbell Bannerman, hoved into view. Well, young fella, my lad, he said, because everyone in the bank speaks like this. Yeah. How was the funeral? That was very good. It was the best funeral I've ever been to.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Campbell Bannerman sensed what was up, I think, and could doubtless smell the what in his red barrel on my breath. Really, in that case, how many would you say were in the congregation for Mrs. Tavistock's funeral? 238, I said. Really, says Mr. CB, that's very precise. Yes, I'm a very precise kind of banker. Very professional at all times. I see, says Mr. CB. Well, in that case, what did the vicar say? I'm struggling now. Something to do with God? I said.
Yeah.
You don't say, said Mr. CB. Yes, I said, and this was quite clever, I think. on my behalf, and my mind was clearing. He also said that he was sure Mrs. Smith was with the angels. Really, says the manager, did you actually talk to him then? Oh, yes, I said. And that was... I told him that when her final celestial accounts were being drawn up, that I'm sure she would be in credit. Really, said Mr. CB, well, in that case, you're a complete idiot. He viewed me contemptuously and stomped off. I have to report that my imminent promotion was postponed. You don't lie to the bank manager. You don't pretend that you've been to a funeral, particularly if you stink of Watney's Red Barrel.
Okay.
So I have to seek forgiveness not from the manager who was misled, because by rights I suppose he should have gone, but from the family of Mrs. Tavistock, who have no doubt been under the impression that their account was held in such high regard that their bank had been represented at their mother's funeral, when in truth I had been propping up the bar at the Oak and having a very nice time. Fondest regards, like the fade. That's from Frank. You don't pretend to have been to a funeral when you stink of beer.
No.
Anyway, but Sister Susie might think differently, because sometimes she does smell of beer because she works in the pub.
Oh, right.
This is very, very true. But I'm just really disappointed in Frank, because not only was he representing his work, that, you know, he should have been there for work purposes, so he shouldn't have had a drink at all. And you could have just admitted that you went to the wrong church. I'm really sorry. I went to the wrong church.
Yes.
I missed it. I didn't go. Don't lie and say you were there when you stunk a beer and was just propping the bar up for a couple of hours. Although we are grateful for your money at this time. Thank you.
Exactly. Please give generously. Plus, also, how much Watney's Red Barrel would you have to drink to actually be drunk? Because it was like 1% or 2% or something like that. Anyway, brother from another gutter.
I cannot be the only one who's thinking, what exactly has he done wrong here? He went to a funeral he was sent to the wrong church. He then went and told everyone, he fessed up and said, I've been to the wrong church. They all said, doesn't matter, we won't dob you in, you're all sorted. Stay here and have a drink. And then the bank manager is quizzing him. If you're that interested, mate, you should have gone to the funeral yourself.
Very true.
Maybe get yourself represented there, Frank. But on that point, I would say forgiven.